to another European front-wheel drive tech video. This time we're going to be talking about fuel cells. I know one of the common things that people like to do are when they turn their road car into a drag racing car, or maybe even a track day car, is to remove the big old heavy plastic fuel tank. When I say heavy, it's not really that heavy, but if you're got a mind on how much fuel you want to run in the car, rather than running a 50-litre tank and having all that fuel sloshing around, it's much better to have a smaller, more concentrated fuel cell where you're going to put some foam in, and of course you'll know exactly how much run. If you're drag racing, you might only put enough in for the one run, depending on how fast you're going. If you're knocking on the doors of 7s or 8s, you're going to put a specific amount of fuel in your car for that one run. Maybe you're doing run what you brung, you're going to put 20 litres or 10 litres in the car so you can go round and round all day during a run what you run and not have to worry about filling up. So this is just a little video of some do's and don'ts on fuel cell fitting if you're doing drag racing. Of course, we're really talking about the front wheel drive cars here, but the same goes really for any vehicle. So I've got my fuel cell here in the engine bay. We've literally just had the engine out and we've had an issue, so it's all coming back out again. So this hasn't actually been bolted back in. Normally this would be bolted in here. You've got one there and one down there. That keeps it solidly mounted. Now, while this is a good place because it is within the chassis legs, meaning there's good strength. Should your car ever have a crash, it means your fuel tank is protected. Another good place to put it is over the front wheels, especially if you've got a front wheel drive car. As you can see, we've got the battery over the front wheels. So this is putting extra weight hanging over the front of the car. And what we will be doing in the very near future is putting our fuel cell down here, doing exactly the same. Of course, we will either put a filler neck up here or make this light a lot more removable than it is, as you can see at the moment. Now, of course, one thing that's easy to do is leave your fuel tank in the stock location. You got your filler deck there, that's nice and easy. But as we said, that leaves you with a big old 50 litre tank in the back of the car with the fuel sloshing around at all times. And when you're accelerating, that fuel is going to slosh to the back, and maybe if the pickup's at the front, that's not going to help you. So at that point, you're thinking, do I fill the tank up to make sure my pickup gets fuel? And at that point, you're adding extra weight into the car that you don't need. Of course, fuel cell, you're only going to fill it to the top of that. So say you're adding 10 litres, that's a perfect amount. It's not going to slosh around. It's going to be more than enough for a run down the drag strip. Another good reason for taking out the main fuel tank is it removes all that weight at the back, and also means you can cut out the spare wheel well and fit an aluminium panel over the back. While this is probably only going to save you about 5 kilos, it looks a lot better, and of course gives you a lot more room. The light's not really going to work under there, unfortunately, but you get the idea. You've got a little bit more airflow in the back of the car. Now, what we see on Run What You Brung days is a lot of people fitting a fuel cell exactly like what I've got in the front, but fitting it here, but by the driver's seat or in the back of the car. For championship drag racing, this is a complete no-no. Not only does it mean you've got the flammable liquids in the car with you, so should you have an accident, then obviously you're in the same place as that fuel, which you do not want to be. So you're not allowed fuel in the car with you. You will see some people fit, say, if they leave the spare wheel well, they'll fit a fuel cell in the back of the car. At that point, you've got to box it off. So you've got to get some aluminium, you've got a sheet, and you've got to box that off so it's completely sealed away from the driver's compartment. Again, that's perfectly fine to do. But at that point, you know, you've done all that fabrication, you've put it in the back, you're still running your fuel lines from front to the back of the car. It really does make more sense to put that fuel tank in the front of the engine bay. So again, just as a summary, when you fit a fuel tank, try not to put it in the car. If it's going in the car, you've got to box it off, you've got to seal it off, but at the same time, you've got to have a way to fill your tank, and also you've got to have a breather. You can't have any fuel lines inside the car, so at which point you've got to mount it so that the fuel lines still go outside of the car, remembering that you've got to box it off and it's got to seal up and make sure that no fumes, no fuel would come in your car in the event of an accident. Putting it somewhere like this in the engine bay is a good idea because you're within the chassis legs, so again, if you were to have a crash, then hopefully that is going to be safer. Again, if it was to get damaged, it's on the outside of the car, not where you are the driver. One of the downsides you're going to say of putting the fuel cell in here is obviously when the bonnet's on and I'm racing, that is going to get heat soaked. Yes, it is. This is why this at the moment is kind of our temporary solution at the start when we first built this car, and the plan is to move this, as we said, down the front there, out of the way. But the one thing we've got to do if you are moving your fuel cell down here is you've got to make sure there is like roll cage bar going around the fuel tank again. So if you were to have that crash, it's going to be this bar that takes the hit and not the fuel tank, hopefully, to prevent it cracking, as you can see in the photos just here. These are some great examples of how to support your fuel cell and keep it safe. So again, if you're building a front wheel drive drag car, the most ideal place for your fuel cell is in front of your wheels, putting extra weight over the nose. If you have to, put it in the engine bay. You can put it in the back, of course, as we said, but it's got to be sealed off. But please stop putting fuel cells like the one that I've got just in the back of your car, bolted in. If you are to have an accident and you roll the car over, or that gets damaged, maybe you crash, you barrel roll, it gets ripped off the mountains, hits the floor, cracks. You don't want that. You don't want that. So try and keep that fuel outside of the car. And of course, don't forget, make sure you've got a breather on your fuel cell as well. So I'll show you mine now. This, as you can see, it's not actually been drilled. I love winding the scrutineers up for that. I will put a cap on it eventually. This is my breather for the fuel cell. Obviously, as the fuel pump is sucking the fuel out there, it's creating a vacuum, so you need to have a breather on there to fill air in there. This goes down here, as you can see, and just there, I don't know if you can see it, just here is my one-way valve, which means that the air can only go one way. So should the car roll over, fuel won't come out of there. It's only there for drawing air into the tank and helping get the fuel out. Right, hope that's been helpful and maybe it's given you some ideas on how to fit a fuel cell in your drag car. You know, track cars, you probably want it in the car because yeah, boxed away and stuff, but for drag cars, especially front wheel drive racing, of course, this is European front wheel drive page, so we're looking to put content to the front wheel drive cars. Yeah, put it over the front wheels as far forward as possible. Thanks for watching. Like, subscribe and comment, and of course, if you've enjoyed this video, watch some of the videos like the playlist on building the Don, the Mark V Golf, or some of our visits to many drag strips all around Europe. We try and document them and give you an idea what the tracks are like, and maybe you want to go and visit one of these European drag strips at some point in the future. Again, thank you for watching. See you on the next one.